Well, for more on this, we're joined live now by independent journalist Derek Brose. Derek, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Well, we heard it through President Trump and the tweet. Let's have a look then what's been happening at the G7. Canadian PM Justin Trudeau announced all the states they're ready to sign off the final statement. Trump has refused to do so. Why do you think he's done that?
Well, to me, this seems to be kind of par for the course of the sort of predictability of Mr. Trump. Specifically, he's pushing this America First mentality, as he puts it. But I think from another perspective, this is more about protectionism, about isolationism. You know, he's hitting back with Canada because of these tariffs and saying, you know, we're gonna push back even harder with our tariffs. Unfortunately, I think this is not a good sign for Americans and for international trade agreements, for freedom in general, but it also seems to be kind of, again, par for the course for dealing with Mr. Trump.
Well, how do you think then that the other G7 members are going to respond to him then?
Well, it's likely that we could see them tightening their relationships and their connections, because we have to put this, I think, into the geopolitical scene. Really, what we have happening, not really just in relation to the G7, but thinking of the bigger picture, we have countries and nations now starting to make agreements outside of the U.S. dollar, outside of the petrodollar, starting to do oil trades outside of the dollar. There's a lot of different situations developing outside of just the G7 that hint to the fact that other nations are kind of sick of the America First policy.
And do you think then do you think this will get even worse, or do you think eventually the G7 leaders and other leaders, as you pointed out there, will be able to find some common ground on tariffs and on trade?
Well, we can hope for common ground. I think at the end of the day, the leaders of the different nations, they have their own interests at heart, not necessarily the people on the ground. Their interests at heart. So I think it's important for us to understand that although they're proclaiming this idea that this is being done for the good of their people, that at the end of the day, I don't think that the world leaders like Mr. Trump have the average person, in mind when they're making these deals. And I also think in relation to the geopolitical scene, we have to look at another meeting that's taking place this weekend, and that is the Bilderberg group that's taking place in Turin, Italy as well. And I've seen a lot of reports, of course, talking about this latest tweet from Trump related to the G7, but not so much talking about all of these powerful, influential people from government, media, academia, etc., who are meeting in secret in Italy right now. So we have one very public meeting that's very filled with drama and talking about Trump's latest tweets and all this sort of stuff. And then we have another meeting that's a bit more secret and private. But I think at both places there are influential people, and it's up to the viewers to decide, where the real power lies and if these people have our interests at heart.
Indeed. Also, I mean, in terms of influential people as well, I mean, what are the key point that was discussed also, that was a point of contention, was also the point that Trump raised about allowing Russia back into G7 to make it back to G8 again. Do you think that's going to find support with the other members, or find any support?
I don't believe so, because in the last year and a half since Trump's been in office, there's been this pushing of, as you guys know, of Russian, involvement in the U.S. election, or fake news and infiltration of the U.S. government. And right now there's very much an anti-Russian sentiment among the politicians in the United States, as well as with the Western allied nations. So I don't think that this call for bringing Russia into the G7 and for the G8, I don't think that we're going to see that gain much traction, unfortunately. I do believe that if these nations would just communicate and have a dialogue, then things probably would work out for the best. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem like cooler heads are going to prevail.
Indeed. And also bear in mind there's the World Cup as well coming up. Let's see whether that might have a bearing as well. Derek Brose, independent journalist, thank you very much for your thoughts. Thank you.